There we go.
We are live now.
We are. We are.
Okay. Hello and welcome everyone. It's been long, I feel. I know that it's just few days, but I feel it's been very long. I was here. I was
Yeah.
missing live and I was missing doing lives and I was
Well,
missing getting this moreness. Yes. I was getting moreness from other sources. This is my thought of the day. I'm going to share with you guys that this is pretty amazing for me. Uh, it's not out of my country traveling, but it is okay within us within a country traveling. But it's a big, huge deal for me. It is like crossing or maybe going through a transformation. Yes, I can say that. Because pulling yourself out of your comfort zone deliberately, not by not pushed by other sources or circumstances, but just choosing it to deliberately come out of your comfort zone, put yourself, be in a position where moreness can come. And moreness is not defined. It's not something you can just say that, oh, this is what is going to happen. You can predict. No.
oh,
When you say I allow moreness to come to me, when you set yourself, when you put yourself in a position where you are completely receptive for the moreness, it's quite daring. It's not a simple thing.
very much so.
It's yes, it's very daring because
Yeah.
moreness, capital M moreness, is not defined thing. It's not predictable. It is it is infinite in many ways we can say that.
Mm.
Things can happen out of your known circumstances,
Yes.
out of your assumptions, out of your expectation. And this is exactly what is happening with me.
Mm.
When I was thinking about this, it was all fun and wonderful. And yes, so this is what everyone, of course, expect when they are choosing to go out for traveling. Fun.
Well,
I got, I got exactly what I was expecting. Fun. Small f fun, capital F fun. All
wow.
caps fun. All caps
Brilliant.
fun.
Brilliant.
This is what I'm having right now. And of course, everybody has their own definition of fun. My definition of fun is when I get things which are more than my awareness, first thing, when they respond to me in a positive way. I'm not saying that, oh, it is something that, okay, I'm getting here, so I'm just going to party and all these things. No, but anything or any circumstances or any situation in my life which happens and any interaction with anyone, when it happens and it gives me moreness in a positive way, that is fun
Yes.
for me.
Yes.
That is
Whenever
fun for
we
me.
receive moreness, it's not just regular fun. It's a deep, profound fun.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a
I will share
moreness. The words are
my story
synonymous.
how this traveling thing started. It started with, of course, many positive things, and how the real journey began. It was
Mm.
amazing, amazing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it could be a disastrous start for anyone.
Yeah.
It could be
Yeah. I mean, like your Uber lift to the airport, the car nearly broke down. And then the
exactly
other Uber lost its way. It went somewhere else
exactly.
entirely. It's like, wow, and they just barely made it, like just right, right on
Yes,
time. Like had to run to get there. It's incredible.
and having an adventure of running on a platform with carrying all your bags and holding your mother's hand and running on platform to just be on train on time
Yes.
in last minutes, literally last minutes. That was fun adventure too,
No, no.
because it made me aware that I can
Yes.
and
Say
I
that
can
again, please, Peter. Say
appropriate.
that again. Repeat that exact
Yes,
sentence again, please.
yes, it made me aware that I can
Yes.
be appropriate. And it was
Yes.
completely absolute practice
Yes.
and application of being appropriate
Yeah.
and appropriateness,
That's huge.
because that was the demand of that situation. I
Yeah.
could not be like, okay, oh, I'm going to just think about what other people are thinking about this. They are looking at me, and I cannot just run like this. I cannot carry all these bags. I
Yeah.
cannot just. I could be like this. But in those moments, I was not thinking, because what was the most important thing at that time? To be on train before
Yeah.
it leaves the platform. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. To catch the train. Yeah.
And I realized that appropriateness is such a wonderful gesture. I don't know if it is a gesture or not, but I'm just saying that it's a wonderful, yes, gesture, that it
Yeah.
just makes you so free and so mm, so optimum. I don't know the word. I'm just trying to figure out the word for that. To be on the peak of your performance.
Yes, well, performance might not be the word.
Yes,
Your
yes,
capabilities, your
exactly.
application, not performance,
Exactly.
because performance is
Yes,
something
yes,
else. So
yes.
at the
Yes, I
peak
was
of
struggling. Thank you.
your application, and the peak of your connectivity, the peak of your, being able to use yourself and be yourself, right, and enjoy
Yes.
yourself. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
And also that it made me realize that when we truly, truly, really, genuinely want something to get it done, we don't
yeah.
procrastinate, we don't hesitate, no reluctance, nothing, not even any other single thought in your mind.
Yes,
Just you
yes,
and your goal, or whatever you want to do at that time, and that's it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nothing.
Exactly.
No,
And
Bina is not someone who can run on platform when like 200 people are just standing.
it's
Okay,
appropriate.
and then she's making her way in between, and of course she's carrying two, three
Yeah,
bags, and of course she's holding.
yeah,
No, it
yeah.
was not even a thought, and I was smiling. I was laughing throughout my way. I was
Yes.
smiling.
Yes. And also, you were supposed to have compartments, sleeping compartments, but
Okay,
they
that
messed
that
up
is
on the
something
tickets
later.
and you had
Yes.
single seats to sit on, and it's a
Yes,
17-hour
that
journey.
comes later. It was
Right.
just a
Oh,
platform thing, I'm telling you.
right,
So
right. Okay. Sorry, sorry. I'm
in
jumping a bit.
those
Sorry,
in
sorry.
those few minutes, like it was a long run, of course, because
Yeah.
it's a big platform, and then of course you have to run. And but in that time, those moments, in those few minutes, there was no other thought than, oh, I made it. I'm
Mm,
on train. Okay, on time. That's it. Everything
yeah.
is on train. That's it. And I was just smiling. And I was just thinking about that when we really, truly want anything, want to get it done, there is no doubts, no nonsense, no reluctance, hesitation, procrastination, nothing. But we need that clarity of intent. That was the absolute thing right there for me. Clarity of intent. I was
Yes.
clear about that I need to be on train with all my luggage, with all my family members on time, and that's it. So now what 200 people are thinking about, or looking at, or saying, I don't know. Who cares?
Exactly.
Who
Exactly. Who
cares?
cares? When you don't have self-importance, you can be appropriate.
Who cares? I have to do that. And it was absolutely appropriate at that time. And I was happy that, oh, yes, we made it. Okay, now another thing happened after that, because this is how this whole platform thing. And then when we were on the car, then the realization was, when we were looking and searching for our seat numbers, that the railway department, specific for that train, they gave us all the independent single seats.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
No specific
Right, Abina, I
compartment.
just want the reason I brought it up was that to elaborate a little bit because it's not obvious,
Mm.
at least not in trains that I'm aware of. It's a very unique arrangement that you've got compartments on one side, and then where the passageway would normally be on a compartment train, there's just the compartments, with the
Yes.
individual doors, and then there's a passage and windows. No, on your train, which either the compartments have to be quite a bit narrower, or the train is wider. But in
Mm-hmm.
your thing, you've got the compartments, and then a passage, a bit of passage, and then seats up against the windows. Single
Yes.
seats in all in a row. I've
Yeah.
never ever seen or heard of an arrangement like that before. Been It's very unique, by the way.
Yes. Yes. Everything is
I
unique.
mean,
Yeah.
because you got to think about it, right? I mean, your bunks that you sleep on are at least 6 feet, yeah, maybe a little more,
Yes.
and you got some storage. So I don't know where they squashed in these chairs, how they did that, or the coaches, the cars, the train cars are wider.
Yes. Yes. So anyway, that was we were like, okay, first it was a denial. No, this can't be true. No, sorry.
Mm.
There is some misunderstanding because we cannot buy those tickets or seats. And
Yeah.
Luke was like, no way. No, no, no. And then people were looking at us, and then of course some people started like saying that, oh, you have to do this because you're traveling with your 6 family members, female family members, just alone, a single male with you, and all those things. And Farooq was just like, I know that. Of course, it doesn't happen suddenly. I know that I'm bringing all my family, female family
Yeah.
members with me.
Yeah.
That was okay. It's not, no. And then we were looking at the seat numbers, and then of course it was a bit of he tried. He said, okay, if you want extra money, because this is what most people were saying that okay, they just do that, okay, for reason to make you uncomfortable. So then of course you can pay extra for that and all these things. But no, it was all the compartments were already booked and filled. And we
Huh.
were like, what? So it was okay. So they it were on the tickets on the computerized slip. So there was a specific section, and they just skipped it. They didn't fill it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So it was a bit of a mess. Bit of a mess.
yeah, yes.
But
So
the point that you're looking to make is that when one is connected to moreness, you can be appropriate and still enjoy, regardless of when things don't go the way they are meant to go, or you would have liked them to go, right? You can
yes.
adapt.
So
Yes.
yes, and it was a 17-hour travel, and like just sitting on a single seat.
Yeah, but there was magic to it. There was magic to
and,
it.
and
There
and
was
we were
magic.
like, oh, okay. So everybody was panicked.
Yeah.
And
So,
then uh and then of course another mishap was my uncle, who were bringing some of the luggage. The driver of his car got to take out some bags from the trunk of the car, and it was there. And when Farooq was counting our bags, suitcases and everything, and he says, oh, 3 are missing. And then the realization that it's
so
gone
amazing.
now. Yes, okay.
Yeah. So three
So it,
bags
it
stayed at home, right, Bina?
yes, yes, they were not lost, but of course
Yeah.
they were at home. So the realization in first 3 minutes, first shock, seats. Well, okay, we were just on time, right
Mm,
on time.
mm.
Moment we just put our luggage and then start moving. We were just right on time. So that was a shock. Okay. And then the second was the seats. Big
Yeah.
shock.
Yeah.
Big shock. To
But
discover
it all was a
17 hours.
joyful journey nonetheless, right?
Yes. Yes. And the third one was that you have lost your luggage. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not completely lost, but it's
Yeah.
at home. Third thing. So it was like one by one by one. The universe
Uh,
was like, okay, yeah.
too
And
marvelous. Too
yes.
marvelous.
And then I said, everybody was talking, and I said, no matter what, we made it. We are here.
Mm.
And it is going to be, yes, maybe a bit uncomfortable, but not much. We
Excellent.
are going to start our journey, our travel with a positive note. And that was
Absolutely.
like a magic word that, okay, everybody is start shifting their.
Yeah.
We really
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Mama was uncomfortable. My auntie was uncomfortable. And Lubna, she was doing this first time in her life. So it was like, but I'm amazed by the positivity of everyone, because she said,
Yeah.
oh, no
Too
problem. Okay,
beautiful.
we will make it. We'll make it. Okay.
Too
And then people
beautiful.
like trying to sympathize with us, like, oh yeah, okay, it's going to be very painful and all that, uncomfortable. I said, no, it's okay. We are just going to do that.
That's
So the
right.
positive, so so the positive thing that okay, all the compartment door were closed, and
Mm.
we have the whole passage. Okay, we were walking, we were shuffling, we were changing our seats, and we were
Wow.
chatting to each other, and we have that the view from the out from the window. Okay, that was the thing. This is what we just made out of it.
Mm.
So the whole night we were not sleeping. Of course, the other people were sleeping, but we just used to chat with each other and share things.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
And it was not as uncomfortable as, of course, everyone else was assuming and trying
Yeah. Yeah.
to tell us. No,
Yeah.
it was not.
Yeah. If
It
one has good
for
attitude,
others,
everything is more comfortable.
exactly, exactly. It is because of the positive attitude we had.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm ready,
So we
Bina.
didn't completely, yes, we completely just ignored what was happening other than the positive things.
Yeah.
And that was
Fantastic.
magical. That was
So
magical.
it's so interesting that in the chapter travel comes up as well. So not that it's wildly connected, but a little bit.
Yeah.
But all right.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
But
So let's
I
start.
love
I
this.
will
We're
share
gonna hear
my
more. We're
story,
gonna
of
hear about
course, in bits
more
again and again.
tomorrow, and in the week we'll
Yes.
hear lots more of Bina's wonderful adventures.
Yes.
Yeah, but it just
Yes.
they're having a blast, but things started off potentially very negatively, but Bina
Ye-
didn't allow it. Right? Venus
Yes.
not mentioning that part. She made a specific deliberate effort, conscious deliberate effort to not allow it to go negative. It could have, but she made sure it didn't. And it didn't. And it was positive and joyful and they had fun. And it's a very powerful thing, right? To realize that we can change things
Oh,
with our
yes.
attitude, our mood, our intent, our energy. Very powerful. All right.
Yeah.
On that note, we are going to be reading chapter 16.
Okay.
Boynal and the Anomalies. All right, I'm sharing
Mostly
screen.
I'll be on mute, but
What?
I'm listening and I've said, okay, I will keep myself mute, but I'm listening and of course
Okay.
I
Yes,
will share.
yes, 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 yes. Brilliant, brilliant. All right, so there we are. We're all set up. I can see everything. I can read everything. Yeah, this doesn't need to be here. Just get rid of this underneath. All sorts of stuff underneath here. There we go. Well, the window, the screen share window changed for some reason. So I have to make it, drag it into a different configuration. I don't know. Can you see my Zoom windows, Bina?
Yes, your Zoom windows mean like, okay, I can see you are sharing a screen and
Well,
I can
and
see
the
the
and
background
the
with
and
all
the
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 icons.
Zoom control bar. Do you see that as well?
No.
No? Okay. Well, anyway. All right. Boynal and the anomalies. As long as we are inside our self created, flawed legacy system, we have to reach outside the system for something to base our trust on. This is how we come to use the universe as our source of trust. This is why anomalies are anomalous, because they do not belong to the system. They are from outside. Mm. From the crafting of Kaljun. Mm. Biella was thoughtful. The free chat was later, but not on her mind. It would flow as it flowed. There was no preparing for it, nor would anyone want to. No. What she was thinking about was the inordinate becoming manifest. What she was thinking about was the inordinate becoming manifest. It had become a theme for her, a thread running through everything. She saw it happening everywhere. Biella reviewed the flow of events in her life lately, the abstract pattern of things as it pertained to her. First, what had her intents been to a new noble, and everything it entailed was still the same. Her accepting of the full status of new nobility and the name had not changed anything, just as they did not for any new noble. Then there was the task with the delegates. She had been asked to show the delegates what the new nobility were. She had not been asked to tell them about the new nobility. No, she had asked with complete and utter sincere earnestness to show the delegates not only what the new nobility were, but what it was to be a new noble. Biella was not sure why she specifically had been asked to do this. She assumed the universe had led the new nobles on admin duty at the time, who had been liaising with the agglomeration officials to choose her. Didn't matter to Biella. It was what it was. The effect on her, that mattered. She had absorbed the task completely, becoming the task. A profound request to her still was. An enormous task, started the way it had been. Biella suspected more to the story behind the delegates. She would continue to give it her all. Feeling very strongly, this was a critical moment. This was critically important, that she show thoroughly and totally what the new nobility were about. She remembered the request vividly. The new in new nobility had indeed been emphasized. That too, she realized, had a significance not immediately obvious. Bella came back to her theme, the inordinate made manifest. All her intent, it seemed, had gone into that. To her, the new nobility were exquisitely inordinate. Not only did she have a deep and profound intent to manifest that inordinateness personally, she also wished to manifest the entirety of the new nobility, what it all stood for, what it had accomplished, how it began, how it evolved, where it was heading. Biella realized she had set something in motion with her intent. It didn't take much sometimes if the momentum was in alignment with the greater flow of things. It could grow quickly. Biella saw this with the way the delegates were responding to what she was showing them, their reaction unusual. She had seen other delegates come and go. Typically, they were more like special tourist parties, being shown a bit more, and that was usually it. Occasionally, a visitor to Nobelia asked to join the new nobility. They were usually young people who had somehow not partaken in the program's opportunities on their homeworlds for becoming an aspirant. Almost always in those cases, there was some unusual circumstance involved. All the worlds in the agglomeration were set up in such a way that access to everything connected to the agglomeration was freely available. The new nobility were a unique arrangement, but even so, anyone who knew enough to know what the new nobility were had free access to them and all the information about their society and what they stood for. Had these particular delegates been specifically chosen with a potential propensity for involvement to the new nobility? Perhaps. Biella was exploring the unusualness of the situation. It went significantly against probability. That always drew the attention of a new noble. She could not say if there was more to it, but she would stay open to the possibility. In the meantime, she would trust her intent, as she always did, staying receptive to whatever happened. Just then, two unusual things happened simultaneously. She received an incoming message on the com, and there was a knock on the door. It was still early. The com system was rarely used by the new nobility. They made the effort to do things in person. Many reasons for this, mainly because of the connectivity it afforded them and the focus. Biella and Illuminia, who had been visiting, arrived at the door simultaneously. It was the group. What a surprise! Ursula and Hela were there, even Camelius. This was unusual indeed. Ursula had taken Hela under her wing. Illuminia had taken both Ursula and Hela under her wing. And Nora and Aki had done a kind of reverse adoption of Camelius. They teased and played with him unreservedly, completely unaffected by his responses or lack of them. They could be heard calling him uncle or grandpa, and exclamations of, "Oh, don't be such a silly," were heard. Delightful to observe. Don't be such a silly. Could be heard. Delightful to observe. Camelius, for his part, seemed to be in a wait and see mood. He seemed not to know how to deal with the two exuberant and unreserved aspirants. We came early, Hermund said in that way of his, of stating the obvious. That was somehow also an explanation. Biella laughed. delighted, as did Illumina. Biella stepped to the com to check the message. She didn't need to, but its simultaneous arrival was too anomalous to ignore. I received an incoming message right as you knocked, she told them. They made the connection. She displayed the message. Hi, Biella. May I ask, do you think the loops get quicker and seen easier to let us ask ourselves if we continue in the same cycle of understanding? I seem to have come around in a big cycle, with smaller cycles appearing quickly to me. Well, said Ursula, that certainly is the way to get the day started. I see why we came early, she teased. A very interesting question, somewhat oddly asked, Illumina observed. Who is it from? Nora asked. That makes a lot of difference. It's from Boynal, one of the delegates who is now back on his planet, Biella said. Tell him that spiral fable you told me the other day, Camellia said. Tell him that spiral fable you told me the other day, Camellia said, surprising everyone. Yes, yes, good one. See, Aki added. Yes, great idea, Biella said, pulling up the fable and sending it. Ayla said, I have a feeling he is destabilized, but being here has that effect. I would agree, Ursula added. He is not a diplomat, you know, a citizen. I did a little research. There were a few anomalies. Ursula smiled. Seems this delegation has differences with the usual delegations that have come before. I don't know why, though. I was contemplating the same before you came, Biella said. I don't know why either, but I am certainly glad for the difference. Boynal's next message. Let me ask. I want to sell my things today, and it seemed this caused a cycle. My soul seemed to be saying to give them away freely, yet I feel I am keeping myself trapped in this area. Yet I also need money to move. But this feeling of needing money seems to be keeping me stuck here. Boynal's particular mode of expression raised some eyebrows. Normally the com would automatically fix simple errors. Interesting. Biella's comment was joined by a few more interestings. I am not aware of any world on the Ag where money is still an issue, not counting yours, Ursula, since they haven't joined yet, or on yours, Camillus. They are in the process already of converting and merging the economy. I'm fairly sure he wasn't from either of your worlds. I don't recognize his world's name. Theodral. Information on it is minimal, which in itself is unusual. There are worlds which are still restricted. They are all, however, non-humanoid worlds. Another message. I seem to be in a loop. I am at the point of saying frack it and giving all away and going with the flow. Yet this prospect is frightening to say the least. I don't know if this is running away or actually truly listening to what is going on within. Biella let the messages run to see where it was going, to find a connection or resonance, but no more came. Biella set voice to text on and said to Boynal and the group, however, at some point the spiral begins to get close enough to a point. Then the circle is virtually instantaneous. At that point, the self-awareness becomes self-sustaining. The pursuit and attainment of that point is not only a worthwhile challenge, but an attainable one, even though the range in which this takes place is infinite. The range from the huge circles of our childhoods and early lives to where the circles become tight enough to be a virtual point is not. Nice add-on to the spiral fable, Carl said. Boynal. They're getting like this now. I am seeing much clearer. My heart is being challenged by my mind. I keep thinking I can just stay where I am and build here. But inside, I know I won't be happy in this area I was born and raised in. But to try and move without money seems to be scaring the scot out of me. I feel I am bringing myself to this point quicker and quicker to see. It seems to me, Ursula said, that he is resolving things himself. He doesn't seem to realize this yet. Yes, Biella said, thoughtful. She added, mostly directing her thought at Boynal. Listen to what is without. That is how the cycle of the circle is leveraged. Listen to what is without. That is how the cycle of the circle is leveraged. It is the input from our greater selves or the universe that allows the circle to ramp up beyond itself onto the path of the spiral, that ever tightening spiral. It becomes a spiral drilling its way into the magic of that connection. Paying attention to anomalies is the key. They are the incredible levers from outside of the circle of ourselves. Boynal sent another message. I have concluded the universe is calling me out, but it is me who has to accept this and listen to my soul. Hey, I am seeing this. Fear is a great beast. I seem to get to the point of pushing through. Then I cave in. Boynal continued. I do not know. I do know it's going to continue until I face it. And it's getting quicker and quicker. Boynal added. You know it's bringing me to the bottom quite quickly now. Nature has a wicked sense of humor. He doesn't just want to face and deal with the awful truth of his situation, Nora said, giggling. We all seem reluctant at times, she added, giving Camelius a gentle nudge in the rib. Isn't that right, Uncle C? She giggled merrily. Camelius scowled at her, but only made her giggle and hug his arm. I agree. Made her giggle more and hug his arm. I agree. But the universe calling him out part, Illumina had a doubt. There's more to it. Yes, said Biella. It seems like a good time for another young man's story. She smiled and began. The young man and his heart had a restaurant at one time, a very busy restaurant. People from all over the world visited the restaurant. It was in a place with many visitors. The young man was unusually young to own a restaurant, and he was unusually earnest. He started to notice something interesting. Every now and then, a customer would grab his arm, always in the same place, on his forearm, just below the elbow. They would hold his arm, not letting go, even though it was very busy and had much to do. They grabbed his arm and held him, saying, If I was your age, I would be. Always they said the same in the beginning. The details that followed varied, but always they said, If I was your age, I'd be. They said this with a fierce earnestness. They said it like they were trying to imprint this sharing upon the young man. This happened regularly. At first he was so busy these interactions did not stay in his awareness, but they continued. He could not ignore the pattern that developed any longer. It was beyond coincidence. Weeks passed and still he was grabbed. The young man finally took note and considered. What were they what were they really telling him? What was the universe, the young man realized, trying to tell him? He reflected, going over what lay behind the stories. He made an effort to listen more intently to the customers who grabbed his arm, to hear them. He listened beyond the story they were telling. He listened to their hearts, hearing the same abstract story every time. He listened to their hearts, hearing the same abstract story every time. He heard a lament. He heard a lament from their lost youths. His customers were all very successful people. They were from the rich and successful of the world. They wanted for nothing except their lost youths. A deep, deep regret permeated their stories. All of them had come to the realization they had opportunities in their youth to do what their hearts had begged them to do, yet they had not. They had denied their hearts and instead chased success. Now they had that success. Now that they had that success, they found it hollow. For it was not filled with the longing of their hearts. They believed it was too late for them. When the young man realized this, he heard their stories differently. They were not telling him a story of what had happened. They were bestowing on him a warning. And more, they desperately wanted the young man to avoid making the same mistake they had. The young man was profoundly stirred and moved by this. He considered again. He could not ignore this extraordinary communication. It was too uncommon, too unusual, and too powerful. Even though the restaurant was extremely busy and successful, he and his heart decided to get out, to leave it all behind, to step away from that life completely. It was the most difficult thing the young man in his heart ever did. The energy it required to break from the momentum of their lives was enormous. But they did so at great cost to themselves, or so it seemed at first. The young man and his heart were completely earnest in their desire to live a life that was in accord with the inputs from the universe. Those stories, week after week, had been too undeniable to ignore. What followed was fantastic. The young man and his heart started upon an adventure beyond anything they could have imagined. Marvel and wonder followed marvel and wonder, and always, every situation they found themselves in, every circumstance, every adventure was always filled to the brim with learning moreness that seemed to be particularly just for them. Every circumstance, every adventure was always filled to the brim with learning moreness that seemed to be particularly just for them. They are still on this adventure. And now, if they were to grab someone's arm, young or old, they would say, I did follow my heart and still do. It is never too late. It is the most critical thing we can do, for it starts a whole new life we cannot imagine unless we live it. The end. As Biella finished, the attribution displayed along with the story in the message back to Boynal. From Tales of the Young Man, Stories, Myths, and Fables of the New Nobility, collected works. Dream Deer and the delegates had quietly joined them just as Biella had started telling the story. Dream now said, Who wants to be hollow in life? Sounds so cold and empty. Why have success if in return gives you anguish with a draining heart? Ah, Dream now said, Who wants to be hollow in life? Sounds so cold and empty. Why have success if in return gives you anguish with a draining heart? Dream's comments summed it all up beautifully. She had said it in a way that did not invite further comment, seemingly content to simply comment from the back. The group respected her unspoken communication. But wait, Ursula said excitedly, pointing to the com. You mean there's somewhere I can find all the stories and go and read them? Biella laughed good-naturedly. Yes, she said, holding her pause for just a second, teasing Ursula a bit. And no, smiling, she explained. Yes, there is a new nobility library. You could, if you really wanted to, go there and read up. But it is not the way of the new nobility. We much prefer that tales are come by organically, as appropriate. We have found they end up being much more meaningful that way. They remain connected and associated with the circumstances surrounding the telling of it, and a particular connection to the listener. And Biella smiled. There's more. There's always more, came the chorus, and they all laughed. Biella continued. The connection to the stories via this method allows for repetition. We can then hear the same stories over and over because each time the purpose and relevance is different. Each telling slightly different, different connections, different associations, different pertinence and relevance. It takes many, many listenings before one usually feels confident enough to retell the story. There needs to be sufficient overlap of the salient details to provide confidence in having the details of it. Through this method, we come to live those stories, to connect to the spirit of them, not just the facts and details. We identify the abstract elements. Every time new nobles rehear, They approach what they absorbed from the point of view of how am I applying this essential elements? How am I applying the essential elements? This is the most critical element of of these stories. I suppose it's better that way, Ursula said with an exaggerated, glum, sulky expression, curling the group into delighted laughter. Biella was thrilled to see Ursula's fun side coming out, or more correctly, an entirely new and different Ursula being born, emerging daily. So fantastic. But I'm going to pester you for more stories, he said resolutely, arms folded determinedly in character as a small child. Another message from Boynal appeared. I can see it in me. I have a son here in this area. Yet I know I can't be happy here. And this is a pattern that is needing broke. It may be painful, but I do feel my soul stirred. And to walk into the unknown. I am coming up to 40. Not not too young now, but I have a longing to know something else. It's the fear of, can I start over somewhere new, and where is new? Bloody life isn't easy, but it's not meant to be if we want to realize ourselves. What is he clinging to? Marco asked. I'm guessing the sun, but I'm suspecting there's a bit more to it than that obviousness. Practicing my extrapolation, he smiled. Boynal again. What I am fearful of is if I damage my son. Yet I know if I don't, I can do damage also and keep him trapped in a cycle of never breaking free from the area which seems to have a hold over me also. Thanks for sharing your story. If he doesn't leave the area, I am assuming, Marco said. He seems caught up in the internals of himself. Yes? Or is it just me? Marco used a common technique amongst the new nobles of checking assumptions. Yes, Biella answered for the group. He definitely seems to have trouble with finding the connection to the real compelling reason. Biella shot Ursula a resigned look, and with exaggerated apathy and reluctance, dragging the words, said, Very well, Ursula, since you are such a pest. Another young man's story. She sighed theatrically. Mocking her brow with an imaginary hanky. Her histrionics were met with polite applause. She took a small bow, adopting the posture of a raconteur, one hand on chest, the other outstretched, head tilted just so. She began. Shortly after their decision, force of circumstance happened fairly quickly. The young man in his heart had not yet learned how to fully live in accordance with external input. But that rapidly changed. Whatever they did next was prompted by their new thinking. No matter how scrupulous they were, their efforts unfolded peculiarly, or never happened as planned, always for the most peculiar reasons imaginable. It was beyond unbelievable. But the young man and his heart were determined in their innocent resolve to live by input from without. They had truly come to realize the limitations of their own ability, to know what was appropriate for them in the context of their entire lives. One thing led to another. They found themselves on a one-way trip to an abandoned farm where the young man's father owned. It had been pointed out in a very peculiar manner to them, the map story. They had had no option, really. They could have gone back to lives in the regular world. They could have abandoned their path, or they could put everything they owned into a one-way move. They spent their last money on hiring a moving truck service and set off into what was the complete unknown from them. What was the complete unknown to them. When they arrived on the farm, the movers offered to take them back for free. It turned out to be in the desert, remote and isolated, desolate in the extreme, hours by vehicle from the nearest town. No running water, no electricity, no working toilet, no phone, no vehicle, no nothing, really. The only dwelling, a poorly constructed, prefabricated house, had its roof blown off. But they were committed. They had seeds and enough rice to last them a few months. Their earnest innocence and commitment to their path made them eager to stay, eager to embrace the adventure presented. They knew they had come there by way of the universe. No matter how it may have seemed, they were where they needed to be. Going back to non adventure and not following the universe was not an option for them. The story of their time in the desert is a marvelous one, told in detail by the young man in The Young Man's Story post GOI. They learned much, but it's a story for another time. One day, from out of that desert, a miracle came, one of many. But this one led them to moving from the desert world they were in to a mountain world of many new and marvelous magical adventures, the Bushman stories. And from there, the magic led them once again to changing their world, this time to another continent. Their path continued. The incredible adventures continued. Always the magic led to more magic. And always, when they trusted, their trust always built on a bedrock of impeccability. Many times they were without resources, many times, and always they simply followed the path indicated by the universe via anomalies. And always, when they were impeccable in how they traversed those paths, it always led to more adventure and marvel. Material prosperity came and went many times on their great path, and it too came to be seen as something that happens when needed and didn't when not. Merely another aspect of grand learning, a tool as all else, not a goal. The young man and his heart traveled their path of complete connection to the universe in all things, down to the smallest, most insignificant seeming detail, the wonders of it all never ceasing to amaze them. Biella paused dramatically, surveying her audience, as if daring anyone to utter a comment. Not receiving any, she nodded in mock satisfaction and continued. They learned to set aside any decisions and thoughts which came from within. They thought these thoughts. They were good for focusing their minds. Their thinking was effective at clearing the issue at hand, reducing it to a simple decision. It always boiled down into a question to which they could only speculate, one in which they had no way of knowing which way to go from. Dream dropped a comment. The sentients are hard to figure out in splash of time. We need our thoughts to be put in a comfort of choice. Wonderful, the other thought. How dream encapsulates. Yes, we need help, for our thoughts are not enough. The other replied to dream before continuing. It was at those exact times and points in their lives they learned to step back from themselves, to literally look outside of themselves, to look at the world, to look at the flow of events, to get connected to what was happening in that flow, then to stay wide awake and alert, to watch for anomalies. It is through the anomalies the magic comes every time, from unwrapping the anomalies or simply going along with them, seeing where they led. They came to new resolution or to situations which resolved the old. Always a journey into the unknown, the young man was fond of saying. The first step is always in the dark, but the second step turns the light on. And so it was. They learned trust. They learned trust in themselves. The anomalies always stayed anomalies. They could never be expected, even though they were a regular feature in retrospect. Never any guarantee there would be more, or any guarantee of any kind that things would work out. But that is the life of adventure into the unknown, into the magic of our greater selves, into awareness, as that is what the path of adventure truly is. It is a journey of trust, trust in ourselves, trust in our impeccability, trust in our intent, and trust in our personal power. Biella bowed, indicating the end of the story. The group thoughtful, their mood adapting to the story. Biella had set the com to automatically send any comments from the group to Boynal as well. He responded with a comment. I seem to be at such a place now. I can continue to do what I always do and continue to eventually ask why I didn't let go or move. Do it now, Illumina said with conviction and implied meaning. Boynal added, the universe will help us if it's to be and open doors. Thanks. Biella responded to Illumina's comment. It was from a young man's story. I have another story about that too. She smiled enticingly. How those exact words came to be written in the condensation of a window during a snowstorm on that mountain they came to be on, and how there could not possibly have been anyone nearby. But too many stories. At some point, it's going to be a leap of faith. That magical act of doing the irrational and illogical. Because really, there is no other choice if we want to keep our soul intact. Yes? Her question for Boynal. He responded, I have one place in the world that seems to be wanting me to go there now. Yet I don't know if this is me being delusional. The more I stay here, the more I seem to be getting brought quicker and quicker, brought down quicker and quicker. And yes, on the universe, Biella said, it is about tuning in to a different way of living. It is all about tuning in to a different way of living. What are the oddities, the unusual, the peculiar that are happening? Boynal did not respond to the question, continuing on his thread. I have one definite door open to go somewhere and be accepted. I moved out my old life and I made a great friend in Karamay. We are truly connected. I have been searching around this area to try new things and build a new life there, but I can't find peace within myself. The more I try, the less it happens, and it comes quickly crashing down. Biella tried again to make a connection to anomalies. The language of the universe is a peculiar one, a language of hint and suggestion, of metaphor and symbol. We can't give ourselves the answers outright. That would be counterproductive to the ultimate goal, which is developing and enhancing awareness. So we can only share the clues and hints, the suggestions and prompts from our greater selves, from our regular selves. In the end, we still have to put the pieces together by ourselves. Sometimes those clues and hints, when assembled, point to the overwhelmingly obvious, to an obvious which makes us incredulous as to how we did not see it for ourselves right away. Sometimes a hurdle, as we want to disregard the obvious, because it is too true to be believed, or we don't want to face and deal with the obvious awful truths, muttered Nora. Or we don't want to face and deal with the obvious awful truths, muttered Nora, not amused by not amused by Boynal's repeated repetition of the terrors of the situation. I do realize I can go other places and try over again, Boynal added. But the legality of moving to another place seems to be putting me off. I have always been a frack it and go type of person and deal with the situation when there. The more I try not to be like this, the harder it seems to be, Boynal continued. Biella realized his immersion in his own story. She deactivated the speech to text and said, Boynal is inside his story. I do not want to interrupt his flow. What has to come out has to come out. But we can add comments and perspectives, even though he may not seem to be responding to them. In my experience, they are never lost. Sometimes when this type of comment is assimilated semi-consciously, it resonates more deeply. Illumina nodded to Biella to turn the speech to text back on, and said in that poetic way she sometimes had, I suspect you're on the point where the path will lead you away from any knowing. But that is just my guess. To not go anywhere, but to follow a path. Wherever that path leads, it is a reversal of mindset. The road signs to that path are the anomalies, little impossible things which occur in your life. Any come to mind right now for you? Biella asked. Boynal. Aye. So in this my mindset is always fractured. But in reversing this, I to be more logical in thinking? Ah, yes. But the opposite to white is not always black. There is a whole range of colors out there, Biella added earnestly. Thanks, Biella. Boynal seemed to have come to the end of his story. I am in deep story mode, Biella said, trusting her intuition. The telling of the stories of the new nobility always affected her deeply. Hence the style of my communications. I run with it, as it's immensely valuable to me. Life is a story, Boynal said. Yes, it is. I am most curious to hear about anything anomalous which comes up, Biella said again. Oh, most important, when it comes to crunch decisions, it seems the trick is to leave any decision to the absolute last possible second. Yes, literally, second. So much can happen between the now and the whenever of that final second. Any decision taken too early cuts any incoming input out of the process. It is a truly remarkable phenomenon, probably just the way of the universe or our greater selves to leverage our trust, our impeccability, our patience, and our tolerance. But that one thing, that alignment with timing, that is crucial and critical to the entire process. Yes, most important, the timing is immediate, Illumina added. Boynal replied, Ay, if we make them too early, we can talk ourselves out of them. I was ready to move there, and I set myself for it, but I was too quick in this, and it has brought me back into a cycle. I was searching for somewhere to go, and nowhere was opening doors. Biella stayed in the abstract. To wait in trust, with no plan, no idea, nothing. Simply one's trust and intent, to wait with true patience. That is a phenomenal act of power. Ay, and this is the fear thing, to be willing to trust, Boynal said. Yes, Biella added emphatically. Pleased now to be engaging Boynal directly. Trust your ability to adapt. Trust your ability to cope. Trust your ability to handle whatever may come with grace, joy, and eagerness. Trust your personal power, no matter how small, for it is then we are truly impeccable. Biella was not only speaking to Boynal, but the group as well. She was communicating, showing what the new nobility were all about. So many ways, so many different applications. The interaction with someone at a crux point in their lives was an ideal time to display the sincere earnestness, which was one of the hallmarks of the new nobility. Boynal returned to his earlier thread. I think I'm going to end it there for today. Because this is a long chapter and there's quite a long a bit coming here. So this we'll pick up here where Boynal returns to his earlier thread next Sunday. But we'll do the go overs of this part in the week, right? And we'll share some other things too, Bina's adventures. So I don't want to have a whole long chapter to go through because we're going to be listening to Bina's adventures, so it may set the capital R reading of the story back a bit. And I'm very keen to hear Bina's magical sharing of her adventures because there's always moreness. There's always moreness. Once one has become attuned to that, then moreness comes and we learn how to share the moreness. We learn how to see the moreness, recognize it, and then of course share it again. It's wonderful. It's just absolutely wonderful. Bina and Norma, I think Norma is not here today. She's offline, it seems.
Okay.
So any comments, Bina? Any comments?
Oh, I was just enjoying this story, so that was
Ah,
wonderful.
wonderful,
Yes,
wonderful.
a lot of similarities, not similarities in this usual way, but yes. So
Yeah,
like, okay, yes, yeah,
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
sharing things, and that
yeah.
was wonderful. So,
It's most fascinating to me how we had this wonderful, intense adventure of Biella and Ursula and Illuminia and Hyla up on the giant trees, right? Now
Yes.
Biella's back in her apartment in Cliff City, and they this anomaly of the message, a message from Boynal, is a message that she doesn't recognize. It's very rare for her to get that, so it's anomalous for her, but not in itself, because at some point somebody's going to contact you. But it was anomalous with a knock on the door at exactly the same time. And the whole group had come very early, anomalously early, like she may still have been in bed even. It was just odd that they came so early. And anyway, so these two anomalies makes her pay attention. And this is really interesting to me also, how this came at that point in my writing of the story. I got that message from Boynal out of the blue, right? Well, his name's not Boynal, it's something else, but I made him a slightly different character. But his whole conversation is word for word as he shared it with me, right? And it's like, this was really odd. And all this explaining, this anomalies, just it didn't seem like it grabbed and connected with him, even though he says A. I think he's from Scotland, by the way. Uh, and even though he says A all the time, and he seems to, but it didn't penetrate, didn't connect. But the magic of that is that in the context here now, Biella has to re-explain anomalies from many different angles, and who also missed on an anomaly somewhat in the 2 chapters previous, right? Hayla, right? She also didn't quite get this understanding of anomalies, right? So this is all magically not just for Ayla's benefit, but of course the delegates and everybody, always, and Illumina everybody. It's always benefits to re-hear this, but it's so amazing to me how it comes up, and this is not only how Biella's life is that I'm trying to, and the new nobility lives which I'm trying to exemplify, but also my life in living with anomalies, and you also know this, being right, from having experienced them now, that they come when appropriate. Yes, and you consciously to connect all of this now back to Biella's opening story, which was about the anomalousness of them getting onto the train, right? Multiple anomalies, not just one thing. I mean, she didn't even mention the car breaking down yet, right? I mean, well, not almost
Yes.
breaking down. I mean, they were driving with the Uber, and the car's like, what did you say? It was like sticky,
Dragging.
dragging. That's the word used. The car was like dragging, and her brother Farouk, he said, your brake is stuck, right? And the guy said, no, something with the engine. I said, well, if it was something with the engine, it'd be overheated by now. But so it was from an Uber. Have you ever been in an Uber where the car was dragging, like the brake pad was stuck to the wheel, right? I mean, Farouk knows something about cars, obviously. And who's heard of this? It's just impossible, right? So that
Yes.
alone is anomalous. When added to the fact that the other Uber driver for Uncle Tariq, and I was bringing the luggage, right? The other Uber
Yes.
driver, he went to the wrong place. It's like, hello, come on, right? And then you've got the thing with the seating and the trains. You add it all together, you got one giant anomaly. But what was your
Yes.
thinking during that? Right? You recognized it as being anomalous. So
Yes.
what was it for you, right? That this anomaly came for a particular obvious good reason, right?
It
Anomalies
was
always have magic. So what was your
correct.
thinking about this? Because you recognized it as an anomaly at the time, right, Mina?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, let me stop screen sharing. Sorry.
And I shared with my family also. Then I said, okay, it's a last bit of resistance we have to get out of our comfort zone.
Repeat that, please. That exact sentence. Repeat it, please. It's very
Yeah.
important.
It's the last bit of resistance we have to get out of our comfort zone.
Right. So the anomalies were there as a materialization of the last bit of resistance for getting out of your comfort zone. Wow. 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 I mean, you told me this before, but
Yes.
I'm still feeling the wow magic of that understanding and insight into the moreness of that anomaly, right? What a fantastic awareness and awareness enhancement of your own awareness, and when you shared with your family for them
Yes.
too. Yeah. Incredible.
Yes.
Incredible.
So it was literally like the brake shoes of that car, Uber car, was sticking, like okay, not letting it go. like
Yeah.
trying to hold it. And the car was dragging. It really like really want to stop, but we
Resistance,
were just
resistance. Yes, yes.
yes,
Creating discomfort, right? Because that's
yes,
what it
yes,
does. It makes the car feel like it's
exactly.
dragging. It makes it hot, of course. And that's
Yes,
it. When we have undue resistance, we get undue discomfort. Yes.
yes,
So if you don't have a resistance to leaving your comfort zone, you don't have discomfort. It's as simple as that, right? Don't have a comfort zone, in other words. Make the whole
exactly,
world your comfort zone.
exactly,
As
exactly.
simple as that. When appropriateness is your comfort zone, whatever you're doing, if I'm being appropriate, I'm comfortable. Life is easy. If appropriateness means I've got to run, with my mother, holding my mother's hand and my mother holding my hand down the station and all of us running, this is not something we normally do. We're very dignified and very graceful. Running is not part of our typical experience, right, Bina? But you ran because it was appropriate. If it
Exactly.
means shouting at the conductor outside on the platform to unlock the door so that you guys can get off, which comes late in the story, you shout, right? There's more adventures coming. There's more adventures coming from Bina. It's too amazing, this journey. It's too incredible. It's too brilliant. It's too brilliant. But for me also, it is an opportunity, right, Bina? You said too. It's an opportunity for you to practice the application of your moreness, right? Not to practice your moreness, but to practice the application of your moreness. There's a slight
Exactly.
nuance there, but very important. We need to
Exactly.
practice the application of what we learn, our awareness, our truths, our understandings, our insights, our policies, our philosophies, our behaviors, our skills. We need to practice them. Simply acquiring them is not enough. Yes? Which is why I've had wonderful, marvelous
Yes.
adventures. But you could say right now I'm in a very unadventurous situation, buying and selling boring stuff. Why? No, no. It gives me
No.
opportunity to apply, right, Vina? And you too. And we have incredible fun and joy in this application, right? It's never boring. It's always a
Never,
fun,
never,
joyful,
ever.
wonderful thing. Never
Never
boring.
single day of anything, any phone moments.
Yeah.
No,
Because
we
it's
don't
in
have.
attunement. That's why.
Absolutely.
Yeah. 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 This is absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible, right? This how everything works together. And that's why I also wanted to stop earlier because there's so much going on here, as always. But it's about this adventure. Like it's overlapping with Bina, right? Boynal he has to move. Okay, it's a bit of a bigger move, right? But you know, Bina, have you as an adult been done this before? No, right?
No,
No,
never.
and you're going for
No.
2 weeks, 15 days, so it's a big
Yes,
deal, right?
yes.
And it's not
It's a
just
big
you, it's like
deal.
it's mama, it's auntie, and all the sisters, Dushka and Amy and Lubna, right? So
True.
and then your brother too. So there's a whole bunch of you going, right? So this is kind of an unusual thing. It's never happened before. It's a big deal, right? And so you are traveling and you're going to a different location, right? And same thing for Boynal now. I'm assuming he might have traveled before or not. But for him, there's resistance with you. This came anomalously, and you guys could have said, "Yeah, well, but you grabbed onto it. You didn't. You weren't. There wasn't a negativity because well, you've got to make the effort to move, right? And how this came about was anomalous in the first place. So it's just magical, magical, magical. And I love the overlap, and particularly the emphasis here in the story. That's why the chapter's called the Boynal and the Anomalies because they kind of separate. They anomalies all around Boynal, but he's just blind to them, right? It just goes in one ear and out the other ear. He doesn't connect to this. So Biella has to explain. Illumina adds. Everybody gives their input on this, right? And she comes at it from many different ways, which is fantastic from the book's intent of showing what the new nobility is all about. Now, it's not just showing how
Exactly.
they live with anomalies, but what is really being showed here in a very profound way, Biella's patience, not only hers, but Illumina and all the other aspirants and everybody, right? They stick with Boynal, even though it's like, come on, dude, like Nora, Nora's, she's kind of a bit feisty and very enthusiastic and eager. And she's like, come on, dude. In a way, she's saying, come on, dude, you're not getting it. Like, wake up. She like wants to kind of smack him a bit to wake him up a bit there, right? Not that she ever would, of course, but metaphorically. And this is happening, but it's a gift. It's a gift in that Biella can show this patience and caring, right? That yes, somebody, I mean, the group came to visit and hang out, and their entire focus is now being taken up by somebody obviously in need. This is the new nobility. This is the caring, right? She didn't have to do this, but it all blends. And of course, the more they get into the conversation, they see the moreness involved, they see the magic of it, and they see the appropriateness. And they don't even know about Hayla's story. They haven't had a chance to share this yet, right? So, it's so absolutely necessarily applicable for Hayla, and of course for Ursula too. Yes, they've discussed a bit about anomalies, but she's getting all the detail now. Now, Ursula's really, she's into this and grabs it and quickly and listens, really, really listens. I mean, she's like a model aspirant here. So Ayla also, she had it on her own, but when Biella shelled, she didn't quite click onto it. So I don't remember if Ayla says more here in this or not, and how this connects to Ayla. I don't remember. But this is just, I love this that everybody's involved in this too. But the appropriateness, and also the appropriateness as it applies to Biella's wonderful adventure. We are seeing the one who is reluctant to get out of his comfort zone, right? Which is Boynal. And we're seeing this, the other side of it in Biella, in Bina's story, where she's embracing and she's recognizing that, well, not necessarily for her, but for some others in her group, there may be a bit of heat there from their comfort zone resistance, right? But when she pointed it out to them, what happened, Bina? What happened when you pointed
Okay.
it out to them?
Yes, it's just like, oh, okay, okay. And then, of course, everybody was keen to just do this. And then they just focus their attention to do that instead of just what is happening right now.
Exactly.
So make it happen. That's it.
Too
Sorry for my
brilliant.
bed. It's noisy and
No, it's
there's
not noisy for us. It's not noisy for us, so we hear you just fine. It's not a problem. Actually, you're quite delicate and soft with your voice today. So I don't know if you're speaking a bit softer so you don't disrupt them, but no, you're fine. But we'll leave it anyway. It's all good, Bina. It's all good. I like that it was, this chapter two. It may even be in three parts, or I don't know. I don't remember how long it is still, but there's still more. But I like to have that condensed and focusedness, and I love how it's so pertinent and relevant and connected to your story right at this time too.
exactly,
It just blows my mind.
exactly,
Absolutely blows my
exactly.
mind. Absolutely blows my
Attunement,
mind.
sir. Attunement. Living with attunement.
Exactly. We do live in attunement. And this is an exemplification of the magic of attunement. And now, when I say it blows my mind, be careful of assumptions. When somebody typically says, oh, this really blows my mind, you assume it is rare and unusual. It's unusual, but not rare.
Yes.
We have anomalies all the time. It blows my mind
Always.
every single time. It never fails.
Yes. Yes.
You never get
Al-
old of anomalies. You just never get old of anomalies. It's an incredible thing. An incredible thing. Really fantastic. I'm sorry you missed this, Norma, but she'll watch the replay, so that's all good. It's all good. I love it when Norma's here. It's always fun. And anybody, and Janet, Donna, whoever, sure, always marvelous when everybody comes. But it is how it is. And that doesn't mean we don't enjoy to the max when they aren't. This is the magic of friends. They always live in your heart. Whether they are physically here or, actually connected or not, it doesn't matter. You're always connected to them. It doesn't matter. Yes? It's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. At least when one sets our friendships that way. Those are friendships that from an independence of being point of view. Yeah. If you don't have
Absolutely.
independence of being, then you're needy and desperate and all that stuff. And now that's no good. That's no good. Yeah. So you have to have that. It's a very critical part of all of this. All right. On that note, any comments on the story itself, Bina? Like on Boynal, his character, on the group, on Dream Deer? Anything?
Yes. Okay. I would love to share, but not today.
All right.
Uh,
Tomorrow. Okay. As we
yes,
go through it.
tomorrow. Tomorrow.
I
I'm getting
just
back
loved Dream
to
Deer's
the norm
comments.
of just being in live and of course
Okay.
uh,
Okay.
having and extracting bonus of course
Yeah.
from sales
Yeah.
sharing and other people's input also. So I'm
All
keen
right.
to connect with Tina and Raghuvan, of course, regularly. This is
Yeah. Yeah.
something
We will.
is very
We will.
important for me.
Yeah. We'll do tomorrow. We'll do tomorrow.
That's it.
As we
Yes.
normally do. So yeah, no problem. problem. That's too brilliant. I was just going to say, I really love Dream Deer's comments, and those are organic because I was sharing this as I was writing it. Yeah, I was sharing it, writing it in the story part, which I already had the communication with Boynal, but now I'm transforming it to between him instead of him and me, between him and Biella and the group, right? So I'm writing all that in there. And when I came to that part, that was the comment from Dream Deer, exact words, that grammar and hers of everything. It's too fantastic. It's just such a gift from the universe. And then obviously I added a comment into the story and showed it
Mhm.
back to my friend, which is Vicky. Um, I called her Vicky Deer. So Vicky Dream. Sorry, and that was my nickname for her. Name's Vicky. Anyway, or was, and she was so happy. It changed her whole life being this character. And she died shortly after this. She died very happy, and she'd lived a very miserable, stressful life, a very difficult life, right? And this made it just. I may not talk too much on it. I get very emotional. This is a very big deal. It's a very big deal. Just the moreness of it, emotional in a positive way, not in a negative way. I'm not sad that she's gone. It was beautiful. It was absolutely, just fantastically, phenomenally, just wonderful. That somebody's life that had really struggled and difficult, it was all worth it in the end for her, right? So that's magical thing, lots of magical stuff. All right. On that wonderful note, I shall end a meeting and
Yes.
and and end
Bye for
meeting
now.
for all. Yes. Bye bye for now. See you all tomorrow. Bye bye. Bye
Yes.
bye. Bye bye. End meeting for all.